Okay, let's dive straight into today's explainer, where we are going to decode a complete step-by-step roadmap to becoming absolutely fluent in English. And we're talking about doing this in just 90 days. The best part? We're going to explore how you can pull this off without memorizing a single textbook or spending hours hunched over boring study guides. If you've been stuck at that frustrating beginner stage, where you improve a little bit and then suddenly freeze up when it's time to actually talk, well, this is exactly the breakthrough you need.
Now, I know this is going to sound totally shocking right out of the gate, but the creator of this roadmap has an incredibly liberating rule. Forget about grammar. Literally, just forget it. The argument here is that obsessing over rules, always second-guessing if you should say was or were or will or shall, it honestly just confuses you. It traps your brain in this exhausting cycle of translating and cramming, which absolutely kills your ability to speak naturally.
So, to get you out of that trap, we're going to follow a highly actionable blueprint today. We'll be looking at 1. The zero grammar rule. 2. The newborn baby method. 3. Internal environment. 4. Speak from day 1. 5. Practice alone. And 6. The 90-day challenge.
Let's start right off with Section 1, the zero grammar rule. Forget the rules.
Seriously, you have to completely unlearn the way traditional schools teach languages. Think about that old-school grammar-first approach. It's all rote memorization, right? You cram prepositions like in, on, or at into your head. But what happens in the real world? You hesitate. When you actually go to open your mouth, you just freeze because your brain is desperately trying to run a complex math equation to find the exact right sentence structure. Instead, we need to shift entirely to an immersion approach. It's about absorbing the language through natural flow and context.
Which brings us to Section 2, the newborn baby method. Learn naturally.
So, you're probably wondering, if we aren't using grammar books, how exactly do we learn? Well, we look at native language acquisition. This is the process of absorbing a language completely naturally through your environment. Think about it for a second. A newborn baby learning Hindi or Spanish or English, they don't sit down at a desk and study sentence structures. They don't conjugate verbs. They just listen. They absorb the sounds around them, parents saying mama, papa, or water. They take in the entire environment way before they ever try to utter a perfect sentence.
Natural language development always follows 4 specific pillars, in a very specific order. First comes listening, then reading, then writing, and finally, speaking. To learn English naturally, you literally have to mimic this newborn process. You've got to flood your brain with English inputs before you can ever expect flawless English output.
Let's move to Section 3, internal environment. Change what you consume. Now, I can hear you thinking, okay, that's great for a baby, but I don't live in an English-speaking country. English just isn't in my daily life. But hold on, because there is a massive distinction between the environment you're born into and the environment you consume daily. Your external environment, your family, your neighbors, the people at the grocery store, you largely can't control that. If they don't speak English, they don't speak English. But your internal environment, the media you watch, the news you read, the music you blast in your headphones, you have 100% control over that.
You can artificially create that newborn immersion without carving out a single minute of extra study time. It's brilliant. By simply changing the language of the media you're already consuming, you shift your entire environment. Swap out your local news for channels like BBC, CNN, or Al Jazeera. If you're unwinding with a Spanish or Hindi movie, just switch the audio dub to English. Swap your local playlists for English songs. And if you want to read, start with children's novels. The creator highly recommends Roald Dahl books, things like Danny the Champion of the World or George's Marvelous Medicine. They use simple, repetitive sentence structures that just naturally lock into your brain. And here's the magic number, 3. Yep. Just 3. The creator promises that it only takes about 3 weeks of this intense internal immersion for your brain to actually start naturally fitting these new English words together. It's going to happen automatically. You won't even have to force it.
Moving right along to Section 4, speak from day 1. Activate your input.
Okay, so gathering input is amazing, but it isn't enough on its own. We have to activate it. And listen, you do not need to find some separate magical hour in your day just to practice speaking. No way. You integrate speaking directly into your daily routine right from the moment you wake up. Your morning, your commute, and your workplace, those just became your new classroom.
Let's break down how this builds throughout the day. You escalate your speaking progressively. Start super small. When you wake up, literally just use single vocabulary words to name your surroundings. Point out your bed, mirror, table, ceiling. As you head out for your commute, graduate to broken sentences. Narrate exactly what you're doing. I am traveling. There is a road. I am driving. And by the time you get to work or school, push yourself to paragraphs, mentally summarizing your day. Over time, these tiny habits evolve into full, fluid dialogues.
A truly fantastic technique for that paragraph stage is the monologue. You don't even need an audience. A monologue is literally just talking out loud to yourself about how your day is going. For instance, when you're on your lunch break, complain to yourself in English that your boss has been breathing down your neck all morning to finish a task. By converting normal daily life situations into spoken paragraphs, you force your brain to actually start thinking in English.
Next up is Section 5, Practice Alone. No partner needed.
So, what happens when you're ready to practice full dialogues, but you have absolutely no one to talk to? Before we tackle the how, we really need to address a massive pitfall. The creator shares this fascinating, tough love story about a student who bought her British accent course. This student was super motivated, binge-watching 50 videos in just 3 days. But when they called the creator's team later, they were complaining that they hadn't learned a single thing. Why? Because all they did was gather information. Let's be real, consuming information is utterly useless without actual vocal practice out loud. Understanding the concept of a language is completely different from actually utilizing it. To avoid falling into that trap yourself, here are some highly actionable ways you can simulate a dialogue partner right now. And yeah, it might feel a little silly at first, but trust the process. First, pull out your phone and record yourself talking to the selfie camera. Second, stand right in front of your bathroom mirror and play 2 different people having a conversation. Third, and this is a seriously brilliant one, pretend you're a teacher. If you just read an article or studied a new concept, teach it out loud in English to an imaginary classroom. And finally, if you do happen to have an English-speaking colleague at work, go approach them.
Now, I get it. Approaching a colleague is super intimidating. If you're scared of looking foolish speaking broken English to someone else, you need to be a little bit selfish for a minute. Ask yourself this hard-hitting question. Are you doing this for yourself or for them? If you're doing this to genuinely improve your own life and your own skills, you've got to stop worrying about their judgments.
Finally, we've reached Section 6, the 90-day challenge. Commit to immersion.
This is exactly where theory turns into a real commitment. The creator is challenging you to commit to this process for the next 90 days. But remember, the absolute beauty of this system is that you don't need to block out any new hours in your busy day.
The fundamental takeaway of this entire framework is beautifully simple. Stop trying to find extra time. When you try to carve out dedicated, rigid study hours, learning just becomes a tedious chore. Fluency isn't a subject you study. It's a lifestyle you immerse yourself in. You literally just need to commit to changing the medium of your normal daily life, your news, your music, your private thoughts, into English.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. You have the blueprint in your hands. You know grammar is out and total immersion is in. So, will you keep making excuses about confusing grammar rules, or will you accept the challenge, completely change your internal environment, and start speaking to your bathroom mirror tomorrow morning? The next 90 days are going to pass anyway. You might as well be fluent when they're over.